And one of the things that I knew inherently is that people value what they might not say it, but they value their time over money. They do. Okay. And anytime I can free them of investing more time in working with me in order to get the result that they wanted, they actually value that more. Right now, it became a point for me, and I'm assuming for Kelly as well, because I've seen her entire journey. Came a point where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't continue to drive around the place and do this. Like, I'm running out of time. So we then had to create brick and mortar practices, right? But please understand that there's a lot of people that are not working with you right now because of their inability to invest the time that it takes to work with you.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you as always for joining me. I cannot believe it has taken this amount of episodes to finally have you on the Secrets for Success. Kelly Alhooie, welcome to the podcast. I know we got a lot to cover in a very short period of time. How in the heck have you not been on the podcast so far?
I have no clue. It's just I've been busy with lifing.
You've been busy with lifing. Okay, all right. Okay, well, why don't you tell the people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who you serve?
Yeah, thanks so much, Greg, for having me on. What's up, guys? For those that don't know me, my name is Kelly Alhooie. I am founder of Orthopelvic Physical Therapy. I have a brick and mortar practice in Sterling, Virginia. And then I also have an online company called PelviBiz where I help pelvic health therapists grow their businesses and make more money and be healthy while doing it.
Wow, I love it, love it, love it. And you've been doing this now, you've had your business since 2020, is that correct?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. So you've had your ups, you've had your downs, you've had all arounds, right? And it's been a journey. But would you say that from when you started being a therapist, which was it 2010 or 2000?
2009.
2009. So from 2009 to 2020, you were a treating therapist, trading your time for money, working for someone else. And today, things are a little bit different, right? Today, you have a business. Today, you help other people. You have da-da-da-da. Okay. So when you first started as a therapist, would you ever think that there was a way for you to help people, but at the same time have time flexibility? Was that ever a thought?
No, I just wanted to replace my income.
Okay, gotcha. And so now you're helping pelvic health therapists not only grow a brick and mortar, but one of the things that I noticed that you're doing that I don't see a lot of other consultants in the pelvic health space do is you're teaching them how they can bring value and not have to physically be in front of people. So
Correct.
Can you talk about like how you got into that and like how did you integrate telehealth and make it so effective that it is as effective or even more effective than seeing people in person? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, great question. So basically, I saw that there was a need because we treat lots of mothers. They didn't have time to get babysitters. That's a limiting issue for them. They didn't have time to drive. When I started my practice, I drove everywhere. And so I still have about 60% of our patients coming from 45 minutes away to drive to Orthopelvic.
Right.
And it's now been 4 or 5 years now. We still have that population that's coming to see us, and they do pass other pelvic health clinics, but they choose us because we are the #1 pelvic health clinic in Northern Virginia. And I know that we can truly help them, and they see all of our reviews and they understand that we can help them. So they choose to drive, but sometimes they have child issues. Their kids are sick. And so they're like, I can't come, but I really still want your services. And so that's when I really went in hard on telehealth. We call it teletherapy now. So that we can actually continue to give them care and be able to solve their problem. And what I found is a lot of my therapists were having, issues because we don't learn this stuff in school. And they don't know how to communicate. And what teletherapy is, what's different, is you actually have to interview them. You actually have to coach them. Instead of using your hands and doing the manual stuff,
Right.
You really have to learn how to coach them. And most therapists have no clue how to ask questions and coach people.
Yeah, this is a huge thing. I think a
Yes.
lot of people struggle with they're really good at being a practitioner
Right.
and doing stuff on people, but they're not good at coaching and at
Yes.
making decisions for people. Would you
Yes.
agree?
Yes, and they don't know how to guide. You have to guide the people and you have to ask the right questions and dig deeper. And a lot of times I find this to be very uncomfortable. So I'm going to give you guys an example. We treat patients, we treat males and females, right? So I have a male patient, he has erectile dysfunction, young kid, and he's in, well, he doesn't have erectile, sorry. He's overstimulated, okay?
Mhm.
And so he basically, like anytime he's around a female, he has an erection and it's very embarrassing for him,
Mhm.
right? We were seeing him in person and then we were seeing him on telehealth. And we were able to get deeper into his reasonings and his whys because we didn't just do manual on him,
Yeah.
because we started asking deeper questions and understanding truly where did this come from, what's happening. And to me, we got so much more out of the visit through telehealth because we truly understood the background rather than just saying, hey, where's the pain point? Where's the problem? Okay, now let me put my hands on you and let me try to like lengthen the tissue and solve that problem. So I
Mhm.
think that's just like one quick example of, the difference between a telehealth visit and an in-person and how much more you can actually discover when you're not using your hands.
So this is fantastic. I feel as though when you when you make the decision, and I say decision, meaning that you understand, like, I'm not going back. I'm going to make the decision to become a better decision maker, right? And to become a better advisor. And it's so funny because on one of my coaching calls that I did yesterday, I was explaining to the clients, to the students, that you all need to become consultants, every single one of you, and everyone that's listening to this podcast right now. It is in your best interest to not just be a practitioner; it's to be a consultant, meaning that you have to find ways to be able to give people value with your hands tied behind your back. And you'll find there's a whole new way of solving people's problems, even you as a clinician being able to do that. And I love that example that you gave. Um, so here's the question, because I know a lot of people are going to bring this up and they're going to be like, well, I'm not as valuable with someone not in front of me. Like I don't have, like, I'm not as valuable. I get it's more flexible for them. It's um, easier on their time schedule, but I'm not as valuable. What would you
Yep.
say to them?
Well, you guys then only value your hands,
Hmm.
and that's a problem. And
Yeah.
so you have to learn that you actually are so much more valuable. Your mind is the most valuable thing that you can possibly have. And when you're able to not just see it from a musculoskeletal perspective, which that is what they have taught us in school, and you're able, and this is why we have the logo as a puzzle piece, and you're able to actually put all the pieces of the puzzle. So let's go back to my patient that had, hyper, he was just basically having erections all the time. Okay,
Hmm.
let's go back to him. I was able to dig and be able to say, okay, well, what scenarios is this happening in? Okay, I'm going to put you actually in more of those scenarios. I'm not thinking about manually what am I going to do to lengthen his tissue.
Right.
Okay, we're going to work through that issue. Can you put a table between you and this other person so maybe you don't have an erection, right?
Mhm.
Can you sit in a chair? His also issue was if he sat straight up, he would have an erection because he was tightening all of his muscles. Okay, well, let me look at your chairs all around your house and let's see how you're actually sitting in those chairs. And just in one session, we were able to solve him not having an erection when he sat up straight. Just by doing that. I could not do that in clinic because I don't know how he's sitting. I cannot mimic it. It's a fake environment.
Right.
We're using his environment to make him feel comfortable so I can get a deeper understanding of what's going on. And then we're also putting a psychologist on board. We're also I'm creating a social environment for him. I'm saying, hey, what else can you go to that we're going to put you in an uncomfortable situation and I'm going to see what happens,
Mhm.
right? So I'm building that for him. I'm also helping him with just connecting with other people. I'm also having him do certain things in his house throughout the day. So there's so many different things that you can do, not just using your hands. And I find therapists are very, very uncomfortable with that because no one's ever taught you that. And
Right.
so that's what I want to help people with, and I want to teach people like we can do this, and you actually will get better results. Um, even with doing telehealth, because you're going to truly understand their deeper why.
Now, one of the things that you have said to me before, and I know a lot of therapists don't value themselves in their ability to make decisions. And so if they're going to do a telehealth visit, they actually charge less.
Yeah.
But you don't do that.
No.
When you sell your packages and you have telehealth visits in there, there's no difference with a telehealth visit versus an in-person visit. How are you able to overcome that when so many therapists don't value their decision making as much as they value their hands? How are you able to navigate that with clients?
Yeah. So first off, we charge the same price as in person, and our tele sessions are actually 45 minutes. Our in person is actually an hour.
Mm,
So we're actually doing a shorter televisit, and then that way it saves 15 minutes for us to actually create a plan for them on the back end.
gotcha.
And so yeah, we only talk to them for 45 minutes, and the value that we are conveying to them is it actually saves you time. We get to use your environment, and you don't have to, leave your house. You don't have to get a babysitter, okay? And they're like, oh my God, like another example. I had this lady, she only peed when she picked up her little 5-pound dog.
Hmm.
So I'm like, let's do teletherapy. So we did teletherapy, and we reviewed how she was going to pick up her dog every step of the way, where she had to feed him, where he had a diaper on. He had some issues, but he had
Hmm.
some leakage issues too. And so we reviewed exactly what that was. And by the end of the session, she did not have any leakage at all. And I think she was in our office for like 7 visits. She saw leakage. We did a one telehealth session, and she had no leakage at all during that session with her dog.
But you're simulating their environment for them,
Correct.
right? So, yeah, guys, I think this is just look. You guys know me as the guy that doesn't want to exclusively trade time for money, right? And the reality is that I still trade some time for money. Um, I just don't want to trade all my time for money, right? And if I am going to trade my time for money, I want to be able to do it in a remote way, if possible, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I just love this because, um, it gives you that flexibility. Like I don't know if I told you, but I got some health stuff going on with a family member, and I'm able to. It's going to be a big surgery, right? That they're going to have. I don't have to because I have the flexibility of being able to deliver value and help people with their decision making. I can do it remotely. So if the surgery ends up not going as expected and I need to stay even longer down in South Florida, like I can do it, right? And a lot of people are like, yeah, oh my gosh, I want that, but I'm a clinician. Well, I think if you kind of follow this way, this is a way for you to at least get time flexibility. It might not be full time freedom, but time flexibility first. And and I say that to all of you that are listening for a couple reasons. Number one, if you look at Kelly's journey and you look at my journey, she started later. She started in 2020 as an entrepreneur, and you started mobile,
Right. Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I started my entrepreneurial journey in 2005, and I started mobile as well. And one of the things that I I knew inherently is that people value what they might not say it, but they value their time over money. They do. Okay. And anytime I can free them of investing more time in working with me in order to get the result that they wanted, they actually value that more. Right now, it became a point for me, and I'm assuming for Kelly as well, because I've seen her entire journey. Came a point where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't continue to drive around the place and do this. Like I'm running out of time. So we then had to create brick and mortar practices, right?
Right.
But please understand that there's a lot of people that are not working with you right now because of their inability to invest the time that it takes to work with you. And you not giving them this as an option is actually hurting your ability to even have the opportunity to work with them. They're not working with you because you haven't made this an option. So here's
Yeah.
my last question to you, Kelly. How do you present this to people? How do you make this an option for people? And how do you make it an option in a way where people don't feel like they're getting shortchanged?
Yeah. So there's 2 ways. Number one, I have a method that Gray helped me come up with. I have a method, and that we keep it in the rooms, and you have to set the expectation up front. And
Mm-hmm.
we always say that at least 2 sessions will be teletherapy, at least. So
Okay.
that way the expectation's already there. Also, that's one way I do it. And then also, when someone tries to cancel in your clinic, so for those people that have a clinic and they're canceling, you're like, when the COVID goes around or whatever, all the germs or whatever else comes around, you're like, why are all these cancellations happening? Or people are traveling with the summertime. Your clinic doesn't have to go down. Everyone gives me excuse, what's the summer? It's going to be slow. No, it doesn't have to be slow. It can be your highest months. Summers are my highest months.
Mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't have to be that way. And so over the phone, we have a cancellation policy in place, 48 hours. And if you don't want to, do that because you're sick or whatever else, well, guess what? We have two options. You can either A, move your appointment later on the week, you won't be charged. Or B, you can switch this to a teletherapy session. And we highly recommend that because we get to use your environment. And even when you're sick, we're going to continue to make consistency and have progress and continue to do things that are going to move you in the right direction, no matter what goes on in your life. And so that's how we position it over the phone. And people were like, yeah, let's move it to that. So it's easier than people think.
Yeah, yeah. You guys, it's just setting expectations
Yeah.
from the get-go. And if you do that uh, and truly believe it,
Right.
you'll be able to help a lot of people. Okay, I absolutely love this. I know that you're doing uh, you're teaching people your framework with this. Is that correct? So can you talk about that and when you're doing it and all the deets and stuff like that?
Yeah. So guys, August 15th at 7 o'clock, we are going to be doing a telehealth webinar. I'll be teaching for 1 hour how to actually not use your hands and evaluate your pelvic floor. Because I know most of you guys have that question. That's the number one question I get, Kelly. How do you evaluate someone's hypertonic pelvic floor and not use their hands? I'm going to actually teach you how to do that. So
Mm.
if you are interested in that, it's August 15th at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go to my IG at PelviBiz, and there's a link in there. You can click on it. You can register. So we already have over 200 people coming. Spots will fill up because Zoom will only allow us to have a certain number of spots. So if you're interested, make sure you head on over to IG and follow
So
us
go to
in.
so go to at PelviBiz on IG. Look in her profile. You'll see the link for it. Guys, as we just finish up this interview, I want to say this, and I'm going to bring you on the podcast. We can do a whole story on you, because Kelly's been one of my favorite clients that I've worked with over the 15 years I've been doing this. But I really want you guys to understand this. My life changed. My life changed when I just asked myself this question, and that is, if my hands were tied behind my back, what could I do with these clients? What would I do with these clients if your hand was tied behind your back? Okay. Because you're listening to this podcast, you don't want to trade all of your time for money. Okay. You were trained to trade all of your time for money. That's the way you were trained. Okay. Understand that. Now, just ask yourself the question, what would I do if hands were tied behind my back and I still had to serve? Could I do it? And that's basically all that's happening here. Okay. And so that is a question that I presented to myself in 2008. My life has changed. Everything you have ever heard from me is strictly because I asked that question. And I started to, and by the way, the reason why I asked that question is because I actually physically was falling apart. Okay. So I asked a question in 2008. I wasn't falling apart in 2008. 2009, I started falling apart. And then I realized, wait, let's revisit this question. Okay. All right. Because I now can't physically exert out the same level of intention and energy that I was doing before. And that really is a start of what has happened for me with my business is growing, with the way that I treat patients, the value that I'm able to give to people as a clinician, and then now as an entrepreneur and an advisor to other people. I highly recommend that you guys go to this. Okay. And even if you're not a pelvic health therapist and you want to do teletherapy, I think you should go to this as well. Okay. Because I think there's a lot that you're probably going to talk on there about just the expectations, the communication
how to
that
be
you
a
need to have,
coach. Yes.
how to, yes. You guys got to do this. You guys got to do this. So anyways, Go check out Kelly. Kelly, thank you for being on. I
Yes,
know
thank you.
we're on a tight schedule, but thank you so much. I appreciate you. And we'll bring you back on the podcast. Fair enough?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye,
All right.
guys.
Later. Yeah. Bye-bye.
That was easy.